Unit 5, Step 3 is your practical assessment for a group induction. To complete the group induction, you will need to deliver a series of exercises to a group of at least 3 people. If you're doing this on a CMS workshop, then you can use the peers in your classroom to deliver this assessment on. However, if you are submitting a video assessment, then you will need to arrange 3 people to meet you at the gym, and you'll then need to deliver a series of exercises on these 3 people. So the aim of this assessment is that we are assessing your ability to communicate to a group of people while instructing and explaining how to perform exercises. But there's also a bit of a added element where, because you're instructing to a group, the importance of suggesting alternatives, as if you introduce just one exercise to a group of people, they may find that they don't like it, they don't want to do it. It may not be the exercise for them. So if you can suggest some appropriate alternatives as part of your instruction style, then that will be very good practice as well. So the exercises you need to deliver are listed in the assessment space below. So we still need to do some form of warm-up. So there are 2 options really. You can either get the group working together at the beginning of the session. So you may do some, for example, some dynamic stretches where you might do some squats, do some lunges, do some arm swings, do some rotations, and just get their body loosened up and ready to move. And then as you go around your exercises, you know they are already kind of pre-warmed, and you can go into some appropriate demos and get them on the exercises quite quickly and safely. Or you could do some sort of pre-warm-up before every exercise. It depends on how maybe the layout of the gym, how noisy it is, how you want to instruct it. There is a video demo where we do the dynamic warm-up at the beginning as a group just to keep them moving. And then if a client is, for example, on the treadmill, you could still get your group moving a little bit to do some dynamics to keep them warm. However, with any of these practical assessments, in this instance, we're not looking for the clients to be training at a high intensity. It's just a matter of you being able to introduce them to an exercise, let them have a quick go, make sure that they're performing that technique correctly, and that you're showing your knowledge and understanding of that technique. So as a group, you may want to warm them all up using a range of dynamic and static exercises. But then as they are getting warm, you can get one of them to go on a cardiovascular machine for 5 minutes after you've done a nasty on it. You'll then do something similar for one resistance machine. You'll then do 2 free weights. One of them needs to be spotted, so therefore it has to be a sort of press, either a bench press or a shoulder press. And one of them needs to be a deadlift variation, whether it's a traditional deadlift, a sumo deadlift, or a hip hinge variation. You need to do one bodyweight exercise, one exercise using alternative functional training equipment. So this list is not exhaustive, but for example, if you've got a rig where you have kind of rubber bands, trampettes, etc., on in your gym, if you've got weighted bags, whether they're medicine balls or Bulgarian bags, etc., core balls, medicine balls, anything, slam bags, anything like that will be classed as AFE equipment. And we would suggest that you deliver this series of exercises. So once you've done a warm-up with the group, you can walk around to the first area, which would be the CB. You'll ask one client to perform the cross trainer. So you will introduce the cross trainer using your nasty. So name the exercise, name the muscles, name the benefits, explain any adjustments, give them a silent demonstration, give them a few key teaching points, and then get one of the clients on. Get them to be doing that for maybe 5 minutes. You can be assessing that intensity using an RPE scale. You can be moving around and observing and speaking to them. But while you're speaking to the individual, you're also talking to the group as well who's observing. So as much as you're kind of teaching that individual the key teaching points, you also need to be teaching them to the group. And then at some point in that explanation, you need to make sure you link to appropriate alternatives or adaptations. So for example, if you don't like the cross trainer or the cross trainer is not available, a treadmill would be a good alternative. Or if you want a low impact option, then a bike could be a good alternative. You then do the same on your lat pull down. So you'll introduce the lat pull down, do a nasty, and then get one of your clients to have a go. Do the same with your deadlift variation, do the same with your dumbbell bench press, do the same with your sit-up, and then do the same with your medicine ball wood chop. The specification states that all 3 clients need to participate in at least one exercise. So you have 6 exercises to deliver and 3 clients. So we would recommend in any order that you want. But for example, client 1, who's person A, they might do these 2 exercises. Person B might do these 2 exercises, and person C might do these 2 exercises. It can be done in any order that you like. So if it wants to go person A does this and person A does that, for whatever preference, that's absolutely fine. But every client needs to participate at least once. It would make sense that they all participate twice, just so they all kind of share the load. When you are recording something in your video, just like previous video assessments, we would recommend that you record your introduction first. You can then record your dynamic warm-up. You can then record a video for each of the exercises that you deliver, and then record a brief cool down as well. Again, we're not expecting anything too intense in this part. It is a group induction. However, again, as part of your assessment, as part of your introduction, you can meet and greet your clients, verbally confirm their consent to be filmed, confirm health and safety, in particular fire exits and where to meet in emergency, confirm the location of the first aiders and or the first aid kit, verbally screen your clients, so just confirm that they are okay to exercise today and let them know that you're going to take them around the gym, inducting them to the gym, but just showing them a series of exercises which, if they want to perform, they can do as part of their membership. We would then recommend that you start your session with a dynamic warm-up, so it could be 3 or 4 exercises. While you're doing that, you can introduce your 6 exercises that you're going to do, see if they've got any questions about what you're going to be doing, and then go through your 6 exercises. When you introduce each exercise, make sure you use nasty, and in particular, make sure you offer at least an alternative, but you might want to have a regression and a progression if that's possible. So for example, on the cross trainer, an alternative like for like, I suppose, maybe would be a rowing machine. It's a full body, low impact exercise, just like a cross trainer. However, a regression could be a bike, as it's low impact still, but less full body. And a progression, arguably, I suppose there again, that's where it's not 100%. It's maybe a rower, but we've just said that's an alternative. Or you might want to say maybe a treadmill. But again, it's whether it's a progression and the treadmill is weight bearing rather than low impact. So I wouldn't get too much caught on whether it's a regression or progression, because it is debatable potentially. But if you can think of 2 or 3 alternatives for the client, then that's ideal. Like we said before, at least one client has to perform an exercise. We would recommend each client performs 2 exercises each. Ensure you suggest methods of monitoring intensity, such as using the RPE scale, using the heart rate monitors, understanding the importance of good technique when performing resistance exercise, and still explain the health benefits and like the muscle groups that it's going to be training. Once you've done the 6 exercises, at the end, go into a cool down, and just a series of static cool down stretches will be fine. That would be maybe 4 or 5 exercises, or 4 or 5 stretches. But during that period, just try to use it as an opportunity to ask for feedback from your clients if there's anything else they'd like to know, exercise-wise, etc. Sorry, and then the last section there is based on that assessment, what you will be assessed on, or the assessment criteria. Very similar to other assessments. So you've got Section A, Section B, and Section C. So Section A, do you establish a rapport and communicate effectively? Do you explain unnecessary health and safety? Do you carry out verbal screening? Do you outline the purpose? Do you instruct a warm-up to a small group of clients? And do you approach and initiate a conversation with customers who are there, sort of thing? So just make sure you're keeping them engaged. So in particular, when you've got a group, make sure your back isn't turned to the group for too long. Don't just be communicating to the one person on the machine. You want to be able to kind of position yourself in an appropriate position so everyone can see and hear you, that they can see your face, see your lips moving, etc. In busy gyms, it can be hard to hear people like that. Your assessor will then write what equipment you're doing up here. So whether it's CV, resistance, the free weights, the body weight, and the AFE. And then you need to demonstrate the correct technique using appropriate teaching sequence, which is the nasty. provide clear and accurate explanations, which is the nasty, communicate with your clients clearly and accurately, explain modifications, adaptations, and alternatives. So there's a big emphasis on that in this assessment. Recognize and respond when a client needs attention as applicable. Use an appropriate teaching position, which again, I'd say is a big focus in this assessment with the group. Demonstrate to customers that they are positive and enthusiastic. So it just comes across in your delivery. Gain feedback, and then demonstrated safe and effective lifting. So you can gain feedback throughout the whole session as well as during your cool down, and in particular demonstrate safe and effective lifting. Will be more prevalent in your 2 free weight exercises, but it may be apparent at any point if you need to move a piece of equipment, for example, or your client moves something for you. Please make sure that they're still using appropriate lifting techniques. And then finally, do you instruct an appropriate cool down? Do you explain to the clients how to monitor their own intensity, which you might do throughout the session anyway, so it doesn't have to be done at the end. And then explain the relevant health-related benefits of exercises, which again could be done during your delivery, not necessarily at the end of the induction. When your assessor is filling this out, it'll either be a tick to say you're competent, a bullet point to say you're competent but there's some feedback. If you haven't shown competence and your assessor feels like it is a refer, then they will give you an X. In this instance, you wouldn't need to submit all of your exercises. If in this example you haven't demonstrated the correct technique for the exercise for the alternative functional exercise, then you will just need to resubmit that one exercise. However, if you've got an X in that column and an X in that column, then you would need to resubmit 2 exercises. Alternatively, you may get a question. If you get a question, your assessor will arrange a phone call or a webinar with you to have that question. They'll let you know the importance of it. So whether it's going to be, the answer could then change that question either into an X if you don't answer the question correctly, or it could be a bullet point if you answer it correctly. And it's just an element of feedback going forward for you. Once they've done the criteria, they will either tick a pass or a refer, and then they will list all the relevant feedback there for them to show how they've justified that decision.